Hi, happy Wednesday. Does it seem strange that I say happy Wednesday? Is Wednesday like a weird thing to celebrate? And we all know it's hump day. It is the midpoint of the week. It'd be better if it was Friday, I'm sure, for a lot of people, especially those of you who do not enjoy your jobs. And I wanted to talk about one thing that I'm surprised a lot of people don't do before they pursue a company, apply to a company, interview with a company, accept an offer from a company. We all know, hopefully by now, that Glassdoor is a tremendous resource. If you don't know about Glassdoor, you need to know about Glassdoor. Glassdoor is a website where employees or prospective employees can go and rate a company in various different areas. It informs you of how much positions there tend to pay, informs you of what kind of benefits that they tend to offer. It informs you of what interview questions they ask, and then even sometimes suggestions of how to answer those questions. More importantly, it tells you what kind of employer they are, pros and cons. It also tells you what kind of leadership they have and how well they are approved and received. My approach that I teach my clients is how to brand yourself so that you get the right people responding to you. You still might get some of the wrong people responding to you, but how to sort that out and not waste your time with that. And then also how to be proactive to pursue the kinds of employers that you want. We all have limited time, so you're not going to want to approach and pursue companies that ultimately are not going to be companies you don't want to work for. So when you're taking that proactive approach, and it's a good mix of reactive versus proactive, I've had plenty of clients who didn't need to be proactive because the things that were coming in were viable, awesome opportunities. I just had a client land. If you follow this page, then you know that. She shared with me Monday that she accepted an offer, and that was her third offer. And the first two weren't all that great. I was afraid she was going to accept the second offer, which has a record of not being such a great company or employer. And so I'm so happy that she got this third offer, and it's like, yay, because it has so many things. Go back and check out that post to find all the things that she wound up getting in this offer. But unfortunately, if you don't have momentum, meaning a lot of things in action that are actually viable, qualified opportunities, things that you realize are good chances of thriving and succeeding and doing what you want and being happy, then you might be prone to taking a position that isn't so great. So yesterday, I had an interview coaching session with a client who didn't engage me for the whole shebang. So I'm not teaching her how to be proactive. I'm not teaching her how to track her time and her activities so that she can, over time, be more effective at developing this momentum and these opportunities without having to invest a lot of time doing it anymore. So she asked me, and I always ask my clients before I do an interview coaching session, is there a company in particular you'd like me to pose as? And so I do my research and I find out what methodology they use for interviewing and what questions do they ask and what, based on what they're promoting about their employment brand, is most important. I go out and I'll check out some LinkedIn profiles of professionals. It's extensive, deep research so that I can really mimic the actual experience of interviewing with this company as closely as possible, so that should this client get the interview, or they know they're going to get the interview, when they interview, it's simulated as closely as possible that I can do it. Obviously, I'm not the person interviewing, but whatever I can find out about them. My first job in recruiting was in sourcing, and I learned to gather quite a bit about people even without social media back then. So now that there's social media, there's so much more I can discern about people and find out what their hot buttons are and what they respond positively to. That's part of my job too. So she told me to pose as this particular company. When I went out to Glassdoor, I was surprised that she wanted to pursue this company. Now I know that she hasn't generated a lot of momentum, not just because she hasn't engaged me for that, but because she's new and learning. She's a junior professional. I was really concerned that she might, even with all of the warning signs about this company, want to accept this anyway. So the first thing I did was ask her, you asked me to pose as this company, but did you check out their Glassdoor? And she said no. She knows about Glassdoor. What she said is that sometimes she'll go on Glassdoor, read about a company, read all the bad reviews, and then tend to, she called it paranoid. And I'm like, yeah, that's not paranoia. Certainly, just like with any other company that has ratings, Yelp, sometimes the tendency to want to rate a company is inspired by a negative experience as opposed to a positive experience. So you do have to take some things with a grain of salt. However, if there is a trend, if everybody's saying the same thing, it's something you really need to take into consideration. And I'm a coach. I'm not going to dictate to people what decisions they have to make. All I can really do is kind of advise and give them input and data and ask them questions that are important to ask yourself before you make those big decisions. So this is a time when I was really consulting. So I was advising her to, she applied. I said, if they respond, if they want to interview, I would not go, especially because they're in New York and she's in Philadelphia and she would have to travel. And that just seems like a big waste of time. Not only that, but if she landed this position, it pays way below market and she'd be having to relocate to a city that's very expensive. So hopefully she takes that advice if they do call her back. And hopefully, I'd love to work with her more, but limited budgets are what they are. I can only help her as much as I can help her and do these lives to produce content. There's a ton of stuff out there, right? There's no lack of free advice out there, but sometimes the coaching relationship enables me to really be a partner and address the things that are happening to you specifically and the kind of person you are, the kind of things that you want. But I don't have that relationship with her. We didn't engage on that level. So all I can really do is kind of say, I'd really love to see you with a lot more opportunities so that you don't feel tempted to take this one because it seems like it would be a really bad one. So let's play this out. If she were to get an interview with this company, it's the only interview she's got going on. So she's like, well, nobody has unlimited free time, but she has some free time. And she decides to go on this interview. And while she's at this interview, this company inspires her with their mission and vision, which it appears the employees that are there, that's the pro. The pro is that there's a whole bunch of passionate people who believe in what this organization is doing and what they stand for, and their vision and their mission, that wind up sticking around but doing all the work and doing it with a lot of resistance. And so they're churning through some people who have that talent, and the other people that are sticking around are saying, yeah, man, I wish you could change some things in your leadership so that we could keep these people around, because this organization really has the potential to be great and do great things. And she might, in that interview, and they might be really good at this, being able to say, here's where we are, but here's the possibility, and you could be integral in creating this possibility. And she might, because she has not a lot of stuff going on right now, be tempted to accept that opportunity. Then she packs up and she moves, and she has things going on here, projects, and she's a creative person, so there's multiple things going on. And she decides to move up to New York. She has to now pay a tremendous amount in rent and possibly even public transportation. And what she might have as a surplus is minimal in what she needs to actually live to have any quality of life. And she's holding on to hope. And if she is one of few people who are there who are doing the bulk of the work because they're passionate, then she has very little time left over and energy left over. Let's not discount the energy factor, okay? We have limited time and we have ways we can generate energy. But when we are in stressful situations, when we have, bills and loose ends and all that other stuff weighing on us, and the uncertainty of the future weighing on us, our energy, it will go down very quickly. Right? It'll be really hard to kind of like, okay, you might get it here, but whew, that's what happens. Make a comment if you've been there. So what time, what energy does she have left over to search for something new? And what time does she have to interview for something new? This is where people get stuck. This is where I hate people to be. So this is why I want you to make sure that Glassdoor is a very regular first go-to in your job search. And yes, you should definitely take some of the comments with a grain of salt, because people sometimes can be disgruntled for reasons that aren't necessarily what they portray, and some things are very localized by geography or department, or even a particular manager. So you can't always say, oh, this company has bad reviews, it's going to be a bad opportunity for me. Sometimes that's not the truth, and you can just use it as input. That's all. You don't have to make a decision. But sometimes you do. If this particular company had a review that said, run. And other ones said that in not so many simple words. That's a sign. Don't reward companies with your talent if they're not creating an environment and a culture that's going to enable you to thrive and apply your talent in the ways that you really want. Work with a coach. If you're not able to generate a momentum in your job search that you would rate on a scale of 0 to 10 at least a 7, if you can't do that on your own, engage a coach. Know that it's possible. Know that there is a way. And whatever your challenges are, I can help you. I can help you wherever you rate your momentum right now. And I want you right now, if you're in a job transition, to rate your momentum on a scale of 1 to 10. All right. And if you're below a 5, and if you haven't figured out how to get up to a 7 and sustain a 7, so, I mean, a 10 is like you got 4 to 5 offers that are going to come through any day now. Okay. That's a 10. Totally possible. I would say that the client who landed on Monday, she did rate her momentum. I think she said it was a 7. Like 7 was where she was at, and she wound up landing. You can still land any day, but the other 2 opportunities weren't necessarily as attractive as this one. She could have had 4 or 5, just like the one that she accepted. And then that's a nice problem to have, right? When you are 4 or 5, great opportunities, and then some are like apples and some are oranges, so they're hard to compare. Another good reason why you'd have a coach. But that's where the most exciting things in my relationship with my clients happen, is in that end where they have multiple competing offers, and then my job then is to provide them with data and input and ask some really great questions that enable them to make the decision that's best for them. I'm never going to be like, this is the one you take, even if I have that opinion. I'm not their boss, I'm their coach, right? But if they ask me what my spidey senses say, I'll certainly share that. I love my job. I love when I'm right there with my clients. And it hurts sometimes when I don't get to work with my clients on that level because they can't make the investment to work with me on that level. And that's why I've developed some online coaching programs. And I haven't done another live group coaching program in a while, but they're the best way I know how to make working with me affordable, so that people can learn how to generate that momentum. And the best thing is, when you can generate that momentum, when you know how to get yourself from a 2, 3, 4 up to a 7, 8, 9, I mean, you're never stuck. You're never going to be stuck again. You're never going to find yourself in a job that you dislike. And that's not to say that any job doesn't have its fair share of negative aspects, or those days when you want to quit, even if it's a great job, or your boss has a bad day. That's not to say that won't happen. If you are going to work every day with a pit in your stomach, you're noticing the stress is starting to have if it's starting to cause physical symptoms, and you recognize that, change now. Make a plan. Even if the plan is like, well, it's going to take me some time, and it's probably not as much time as you think, but it's going to take me some time. Like right now, it's mid-September. I can help clients land by the new year, but it's really, you're going to have to make that momentum shift by November, by mid-November, before Thanksgiving, in order to have that momentum kind of teeter out through the holidays. It's really difficult to generate momentum through the holidays because just stakeholders aren't in the same room. Everybody gets into holiday mode, just like they get in summer mode. But even if you're just like, new year, I got to make a change. Like I have to do it for me. I have to do it for my family. I have to do it for the people who are depending on me. Then now's the time, right now. Even if it's not going to happen until the new year, having a plan, feeling like you're on track, feeling like you have a sense of hope, that there is a, rainbow at the end of the storm, that can do wonders for your level of stress. It's not just about finding a job. Some people are like, what's wrong with just going to a job and coming home? And nothing, nothing. And if that's the best you've known, then that probably seems pretty great. But if you had a great job at one point and everything since then has paled in comparison, you want to get back to getting that great job, that's hard, because you know how great it can be. You know how great it can be to love a job. Yeah, I mean, if you've never been there, you don't know what you're missing. And everything happens for a reason. There's nothing wrong with going to a job and just doing your job and coming home, but you will find it hard to transition, to change it all, because that passion is such a primary ingredient. That's a whole other subject. Maybe next week we'll talk about that. But for now, just save yourself from time, energy, effort, a big mistake in your career, and make sure that you go to Glassdoor. All right? Have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend. Have a great beginning of your next week. And I'll talk to you then, next Wednesday. Take care.